I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Good. Okay.
Good. Call this meeting to order at 7:17. Adjust agenda. Any adjustment to the agenda before we adopt it?
And for me?
Good. None for me. All right. Approve minutes from previous meeting. Any changes?
I'll move we adopt them as they are.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then you said from 3, we're going to skip to Liz's presentation.
Yes.
Yep.
We'll do that real quick. We'll right here. Okay. We'll test the audio and make sure she can hear us and get ready to share screen. You have us?
Hi, hang on.
Got to turn your volume up a little bit.
Sorry, I was playing Florida Georgia line. Now my dog is barking. Sorry about that.
It's coming out of the speaker, but we can barely hear. Do we have to turn up camera? Hey Liz, can you give us a test?
Yeah, I'll shout at my dogs. Ginger, come on.
Way better. Okay.
Come on. Ginger. Small dogs bark the loudest.
Do you want to share your PowerPoint or do you want us to?
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
No, that's perfect.
Okay, so who do I have here though? I see 2 gentlemen in dark clothing and then kind of half of a person on the left-hand side of my screen. So who's here, Chief?
You have Commissioner Merritt, Commissioner Flath, myself, Chief Waller, Chief Gatterman, Chief Hodkinson, Chief Sheriff's running our AV, and we have a community member here, Merritt Weiss, in the audience.
Great.
Our first.
And we have Commissioner Smokers on his way. He should be here in a couple minutes.
Oh,
Yes.
great. So Chief Scherer, could you pan out? Because right now I just see 2 commissioners. A little more. Can you do it a little more, please?
That's the.
Okay.
I think you got almost everybody in there.
All right. Great. So good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Chief. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to talk about improving communication with taxpayers. So Chief, you have to, or Chief Scherer, you have to enable me to share, please.
He's working on it.
You can present or?
It's all good. It's a new thing for us, right? All of us. Okay. No, that's not going to work. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Right, okay, so let's go ahead and talk. Chief Waller contacted us to talk about how we could potentially help Snohomish Fire District 4 improve communication with taxpayers. It was a very exciting call for me to get because Snohomish is my hometown. So I want to go through this slideshow. And I want to talk with you about effectively communicating with taxpayers. So this is something, after I left political office, this is something that I have made a career out of because I believe strongly in local government and its ability to deliver services to taxpayers and have them see the benefit of that. So oftentimes when we think about paying our taxes to the feds, right, or even thinking about Congress, neither of those have a lot of appeal. But certainly when you pay a check to the city or your fire district, you see personnel, you see ambulances, you see fire engines, you see potholes filled, schools built. And so I chose to make a career out of helping local government succeed. So I just want to walk you through kind of who we are and what we do and what we think we can do for Snohomish County Fire District 4. So I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but at this point in my life, I have 30 years of experience. I just celebrated a birthday recently, and so I'm trying to embrace that. Hopefully some of you can commiserate. But everything I've done in my life since graduating from college many years ago has been to help government improve communication with taxpayers. So I've either worked for elected officials or served as an elected official myself. I am adamantly nonpartisan. So many of you know that I did have a party preference when I ran for office, but you will be relieved to know most of my clients are from Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon, and Idaho. And that, I think, speaks to the fact that public service is nonpartisan, right? And so that's really the approach we take in our company, is not to pick sides, simply to put our position in front of voters to be able to make an educated and informed choice. A couple of other things I want to let you know about. So I've done a lot of public speaking in my time, most recently for the Idaho Fire Commissioners, which was super fun in Boise last month, and also Fire Rescue International. So whether you're a firefighter or a fire commissioner, you know about this national conference. And so this year will be my second year presenting to them. My partner in crime is AJ Chippendale, and she is born and raised in Arlington, Washington. AJ and I have worked together almost 20 years, and like I enjoy saying, our work relationship even outlasted my marriage. Okay, good. I was waiting for that. That's humor, right? But AJ is great. And so in our company, we have delineated responsibilities. So I do strategy, about 85% of all the writing. I'm responsible for messaging and development. AJ is responsible for some writing, like social media posts, but she also does production. And in almost 20 years of working together, she has never missed a printing or mailing deadline. And there are not a lot of firms that can say that. Her background is advertising and production. One thing that we have in common is we believe in community and local government. So AJ has served as an airport commissioner, in addition to supporting a variety of education projects, foundations, and trusts in her community. So unfortunately, she could not be with us tonight because guess what? She has a 4-year-old child. So that is something certainly we also support. I want you to get to know our company as well as the two of us, right? So we are small. It's me, AJ, and I have 3 other part-time employees. But we believe in a good work-life balance. So we take a limited number of clients per year. That, you know, to quote AJ about 10 years ago, Liz, I don't live to work like you do. So it really caused me to restructure our company to make sure that everyone who does work for us has a good work-life balance. And of course, for our clients, that's a huge benefit because you're not getting some churn and burn company that just wants to send you an invoice every month, right? We are very discriminating about who we work with and the projects we take. So that leads me into our next slide about what we do. Probably about 60% of what we do are ballot measures to help local governments either secure revenue or annex or merge, right? And definitely a majority of our clients are fire districts, and that's where those components apply. We also work with public hospital districts. We have two school districts. We have 3 cities, 2 of whom are in Snohomish County. In Oregon, we've worked with ambulance districts, and then aquatics districts. And I have to tell you folks, nothing good happens at a public pool.
Liv?
Yes, thank you.
You're on the screen, we're seeing it's still stuck on the first slide and not in presentation view. So I don't know if we locked up or.
I don't know. Can you see that now?
Now we're to the 3rd slide.
Okay. All right. Let me try that. Can you see that?
We can see the slide, but it doesn't seem to be going to slideshow. It's just in like edit mode still.
Okay. So why don't we keep it here just for the purpose of being respectful of your time, so you can see these 4 bubbles?
Correct.
Great. Okay, so let me walk you through this. So as I mentioned, most of what we do are ballot measures for funding or organizational needs. We also provide off-site general communication services. So our oldest client is Benton County Fire District 4, and we've worked for them for almost 14 years. So every other year we're on the ballot, and during the years we're not on ballot, we're providing general communication services for them. So we do their newsletters, we run their website, we do strategic communication news releases, which is different than incident reporting, right? We also do public relations for some of our clients, and certainly during the course of our contract, if something should happen within the fire district that required management from a communication perspective, we would provide that for you. A small part of what we do, about 15% of our revenue comes from crisis communications. And so what I have learned in providing that service is nothing good is on the other end of a phone call after about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So in those situations, we help our clients message through it. And we like to say ride the wave, right? But certainly it's a skill we have developed over the years. And so as part of having a contract with us, you would also benefit from that. Although I hope no one's going to call me after 9 or 10 o'clock. There is one thing I want to point out here. So we have a 96% win record for elections, and certainly we protect the integrity of our clients. And so we understand that we can educate, not advocate on ballot measures. But the reason we have such a high win ratio is we interview you just like you interview us. I just got a call from the city of Prosser today saying, hey, we want to be on the ballot in November. And I said, no. I said, we're not going to take that account because between now and when ballots are mailed in October for them, we don't feel like we can affect the outcome at the ballot box. So part of, I think, our success rate is that we help our clients craft a viable project that's respectful of the demographics and income levels of the cities or districts that they serve. Okay. Okay, so that's what we do. So how do we do it? So we have 3 phases when we agree to take on a project. Phase 1 is project development. So that would be my company and the fire district setting up processes and systems between your organization and ours. Something as simple as who sends out press releases, who updates Facebook. Will you give us admin access to your Facebook page? So it takes about a month and a half to work that out. The second phase is developing key messages and a communications plan. I'm going to spend some time on that in a second here. So phase 3 is really the bulk of what we do. And that's when we take the plan that everyone's agreed on and we implement it. So effectively, we do the work for our clients, and they have found that super helpful. Our clients are usually small to medium size, say fire districts, although we are talking to the city of Tacoma right now about running their EMS levy lit lift. But they're usually smaller organizations that don't have the internal resources to have a full-time communications person on staff. So they hire us to kind of come in and supplement that when it's needed. The average time of our contract is about 12 months. We have been known to take contracts less than that, but what I've realized after doing this for 20 years, it's really important to bid out the job, not the cost, right? So that's where we are. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about phase 1. The area I want to focus on here has to do with this last component about assessing challenges to service, financial impacts, and benefits of a ballot measure. I think one of the value add services we provide is walking our clients through kind of a checks and balances system. So, you know, in column A, you have everything that will help us educate the public and potentially win a ballot measure. But in column B, you may have some issues that need resolving before we go to ballot, right? And of course, being from Snohomish, I'm very aware of Fire District 4 and the great service it provides, and also its reputation, which can be good and bad. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about phase 2. So the one thing I would like you to focus on for this slide, please. We're going to spend some time about talking about key messages and why they're important for the project. But for this component for phase 2, it's important also that you know we do the messaging, right? We do a strategic communications plan. We also identify and train spokespeople. 9 times out of 10, that spokesperson for any kind of ballot measure project will be our fire chief, right? But there also may be fire commissioners who want to get involved. And that's certainly something we can do, is train your board in how to respond to difficult questions from the public or inquiries from the news media. There's one other part to this, which is coalition building. So when we look to educate the community, we have to cast a very broad net for our content and information, and partnering with chambers of commerce and Kiwanis groups and Seroptimists and church groups is absolutely critical to get our message out. So we start doing that in phase 2, coalition building with local groups. Okay, so let's talk about key messages. Do you have any questions at this point? Are you fascinated?
No, thank you.
You're fascinated, right? This is riveting.
Yes. Super fascinating. You said no.
We also, well, we also believe in a lot of laughter, so thank you for that. Okay, so key messages are critical for any project. They end up being the backbone of how we educate the public about what we are proposing. They are fact-based, but they're also compelling. In 30 years, well, I guess 20 years of doing this work, we've never had a complaint filed against us with the PDC because we recognize the integrity of your fire district is critical to voter support. Now, of course, you know, everyone knows how politics go, right? That's not to say someday, somewhere, that there's not going to be someone filing a bogus complaint, but we have managed to dodge those bullets. So I feel pretty good about that. But key messages have 5 components to them, right? The first is always who you are, who we are, and what we do. The second component is why we are deserving, and that usually encompasses a financial responsibility kind of message, right? Grants, paying cash for apparatus instead of financing, having bonds or not having bonds, right? Operating debt-free under a balanced budget, having passed all audits by the state, for example. The third component, and the first 2 messages are static. So long after we no longer work together, your staff will have kind of an outline and a guideline for continuing to share information. So we do like to say at the point you don't need us anymore and you can do all this in-house, then we've done our job. So the third message is challenges to service. So we have to communicate to the public as to why we have to go to ballot and ask for a lid lift, for example. And then the fourth message is solutions to those challenges, which is usually additional revenue, or it could be a merger or annexation, and the benefits that residents and businesses will see as a result of the ballot measure, and then also the impacts to taxpayers. And one point I want to make about the impacts to taxpayers is we work really hard to craft a reasonable amount, right? And certainly currently with inflation being at about 8% in the country, we have to be very sensitive to that fact, right? With households in our service area. And it's not just in Snohomish, it's statewide, it's nationwide. So the 3 states we work in, we have substantially retooled the packages that we're asking for during the November general election as a result of inflation issues. And so the 5th message I encourage my clients to have, and sometimes they push back on me with this, I think it's important to communicate to people a contingency plan. So if our revenue measure should fail, what are the consequences? And this is not a threat. We're not threatening. The reality is if we don't have funding to provide critical public services, something's got to give, right? And so, again, we work with our clients to communicate what that give could be, okay? Any questions? Are you breathing?
Yes.
Both of them are.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't know if I'd have to break out my defibs. Good. Okay. I can't see you, so I hear laughter, and that makes me feel better that I'm not just talking to myself and my PowerPoint screen. Okay, so phase 3 of what we do is plan implementation. And without a doubt, this is what our clients find to be the most helpful. So when you hire us, we are your de facto communications department, and we don't take up office space, and you don't have to pay us benefits and yada, yada, yada. So we develop messages and a plan that are approved by our client, and then we move forward with implementing that plan. And so what that means is I create materials and I send them out to a communications group, and that group is usually the fire chief, his executive management group. We like a rep from the union, we like a rep from the volunteers, and we like a rep from the board It's also nice to have a citizen who is largely supportive of the fire district on the committee as well. And then I create materials, I send them out to you, and you sit there with your cup of coffee and you go, yes, I like that, or Liz, change this. And then as soon as we have the committee's approval, we start pushing them out. And again, that depends on what level of comfort you have with us communicating with the news media or having access to your Facebook page, your website, that kind of thing. The one, and I'm going to talk about strategies and tactics for message delivery so you understand exactly what the plan entails. But before I jump into that, I do want to talk about post-election communication. So after doing this for 5 to 7 years, what we learned is that fire districts, for example, would hire us to come in and communicate about a ballot measure. And we would do that, we would win, we would go away, and they would stop doing anything. And so that became very problematic. So as part of our contracts moving forward, we started including post-election communication materials for our clients to send after we were gone. So that could include like an extra edition of a newsletter, for example. It could include a news release where you talk about what you're going to do with the additional revenue. But it's absolutely critical to continue communicating with voters even when you're not on the ballot. And I want to refer back to Benton County Fire District 4. So again, we've worked with them for 13, 14 years, and we have never failed a ballot measure for them in that time. And we've done permanent EMS levies, we've done levy lid lifts, we've done multi-million-dollar bonds for them. And part of the reason that they continue to pass these revenue measures in a very conservative fire district is the fact that they communicate with their residents and businesses even during years they're not on the ballot. And that is something whether we work together or not, that is something I strongly encourage all of our local government clients to do. And once you get in a rhythm and a cycle of doing this and explaining how you're funded and what your needs are, you'll find it's very easy when you go to ballot. And also going to ballot, you want to do that regularly. So we set Benton 4 up to have a 2-year cycle. So every other year they're on the ballot, either for their EMS levy lid lift like this year, or their fire levy lid lift like 2 years ago, and prior to that a bond. So it's very systematic. People have to see you on the ballot to understand that tax dollars fund public services, right? And you don't want things to get too low, say your fire levy, for example, before you go to ballot. So you're all of a sudden asking for a huge amount in a levy lid lift. So just a little free advice there. The communications plan, there are 5 components to an effective communications plan. Paid communications, and all of these are important, right? You can't do one and not the other and expect a positive outcome. So when we put plans together, there are components in each of these 5 areas. So paid communications, I know for a fact you have a newsletter. I received it. It was great to read, but it could be advertising. The Snohomish Chamber is very active and involved in the community. So doing paid advertising for something they're involved with could potentially be beneficial. Also, a fire district is allowed 1 piece of direct mail if and when they're on the ballot. And so that's something we also anticipate including in your plan, in addition to, say, a printed and mailed newsletter. Earned media. So earned media is important. The problem is we're losing our local news. We're losing our local print media sources nationwide. Smaller papers are going out of business, or they're selling out to like Gannett Press, but it still has an influence. Papers are going online, so we want to make sure that we are, for lack of a better word, aggressive when it comes to securing column inches. So any communications plan we do for you is going to surely include things like news releases, letters to the editor. And we also want to develop positive relations with editors and reporters who cover our service territory. So I would anticipate for Snohomish 4 taking the chief and maybe the board chair, and again, a firefighter, be he or she a volunteer or career, taking all three of you in to meet with editors and reporters, and letting them know about challenges to service, right? And editorial board visits are important, not only when we're on ballot, but also when we're not on ballot. Papers get very, very grumpy if you only go before them when you need something. All right, so cultivating those relationships is important, even though we're seeing a decline of printed press and everything kind of going digital when it comes to media. Social media, without a doubt, has grown in importance. The Pew Charitable Trust did a survey recently, and that survey said 82% of people are getting their news through social media applications, primarily Facebook. So that means they're not getting a paper delivered. They're not going to the newspaper's website for their news and signing in with a login and a password. They're looking at their social media feed and seeing what the headlines are. So social media is definitely important when it comes to educating people about factual information involving any revenue request we may have. Own media, this also is an attribute. So primarily this refers to your website, but your website is a passive way of delivering information. In other words, we have to do something like a social media post or something in a news article to drive people to your website to learn more information. We can't rely on people just saying, oh, I'm interested in Fire District 4 and I'm going to spend 30 minutes on my computer this morning with my cup of coffee learning about my fire district. That's not going to happen. We have to encourage them. We have to, I hate to use the word clickbait, but we have to drive them to our website for more information. And it's still a valuable resource, right? Your website ends up becoming a clearinghouse of information. So whereas our social media posts may be 30 seconds in length, if we drive them to your website, say our tax hawks, right? So 25 to 30% of voters are automatic heck no on taxes. And those are the ones who really want your website to be updated, factual, accurate. They want to scrutinize your budgets. They want to see your board meeting minutes. So making sure your website is an effective resource material is very important for that constituency that you represent, commissioners. Signage, also important. Depending on what the fire district has, we coordinate, of course, messages of the month on your signs, on your social media, on your website, also through any written materials we have. So we do consider signage also an owned media asset. Videos are growing in importance. And so it's really funny when I think about starting my company many moons ago, people were like, videos? What? No one's going to watch a video. And now you have to have a video. You know, I mean, and I'm going to look at you guys now when I do this because, right, I can't see you. So how many of you have watched a pet video on your phone? A dog. You seen a dog, a cat? No? I'm
Nope.
seeing Commissioner Schmoker go, no. Aaron, I know you have. You've watched something.
He's called Aaron. You're talking like a YouTube video of some sort?
Yeah, YouTube,
Oh.
TikTok.
Yeah, I have seen something of the sort.
Right. Okay. So Commissioner Schmoker hasn't, but what about the gentleman on my left? I can't see him very well. He's got a mask on.
Yeah, that's right.
You haven't seen any video?
No, I've seen videos. I don't watch cat and dog videos.
Okay, so no cat and dog, but are you getting videos of your grandkids or something like that?
No,
No,
that's a no for him.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, I could be wrong, but I can tell you videos are the wave of the future, and not long videos, right? The best information we can deliver, and this is based on statistics for clients that we have produced videos for, is 90 seconds, right? So we have a lot of our chiefs doing 60-second videos, just reporting back on monthly events or incidents, that kind of thing. So they will definitely feature prominently in the communications plan we draft for you. Okay. And the last thing I want to say about videos is humor gets watched. Right? You can have a very official chief or commissioner looking video, and people are going to be like, yawn. Doing something that is fun and mildly irreverent gets watched. So there was a great video by an East Coast fire district called Rolling Hose. Anyone seen it?
No.
Okay, I encourage you to Google it because it's had more than 7 million views. I'm sorry?
Evan said that's right next to the cat and dog videos.
Well, it's called We Got Hose, and they mean showing, it was a recruitment tool for them to bring in volunteers, and it showed them all the different things that firefighters did. But it's also a parody of a very famous rap song, and it has more than 7 million views worldwide. And so incorporating humor into what we do makes our request for additional funding much more approachable. Does that make sense? So it's something we keep in mind. So the last component of our plan for you would be about public outreach. There are two ways we approach public outreach. One is going into the community with a PowerPoint presentation, and likely, Chief, this would be your role, delivering that content, maybe 15, 20 minutes. But we also have to invite people into our house. Whether people show up or not, the fact that they're invited makes us accountable and transparent. Now, say you have a public meeting about a ballot measure and you have 100 people show up. As your consultant, I'm going to tell you that's not good, right? But say you have 3 to 5. That's a complete success. Now, say you have an open house and you only have 3 to 5 people show up. I'm going to say that's not good. But at the point you have 100 people showing up to one of your fire stations, I'm going to say that's really good. Okay. So we also incorporate a public outreach strategy for the projects that we work on. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so, we've talked about who we are, what we do. Does that sound familiar? Because that's a key message we will write for you. We also talk about what comprises a contract for us. And then I want to share with you how we get it done. I'm a huge country music fan, right? So, get her done, right? That's a big quote in that genre. So we facilitate our projects with regular monthly calls, again, with a communications committee that you designate and we help you build. We also develop and design and secure approval for everything that we put out. We never, ever disseminate anything without the approval of our communications group. Okay, that's very important. But we also make your life very easy by coordinating production of all these materials and dissemination. So at the point the chief and say one board member and a union member say, yeah, Liz, that press release looks really good, let's push it out, then we do that for you as well, if you choose for us to have that role. If the chief or his admin or executive person prefers to interact with the news media in our place, we're super happy simply to give you the final copy of the release to push it out. The one other thing I want to say is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have access to us. So that means if Chief Waller is a night owl and 2 a.m. in the morning, he's like, oh, I'm worried about this, right? He could certainly call us and we would talk to him about it. Now, we might shout at him a little bit, but it's very important for our clients to know that we've got your back. And so oftentimes there are incidents that arise that are independent of the ballot measure, but could impact the election outcome. And we want to make sure that we help you get through those. Okay? All right. So when I first started talking with Fire District 4, Aaron, I think it was you, or Commissioner, I think it was you who requested a list of references. So I really want to encourage both the chief and you as fire commissioners, or chief, even your ACs or BCs, to contact some of the folks that I've listed here. Our clients are what we call multi-generation clients, and there's a reason for that. Again, we're not kind of a one and done consultant, right? We're very picky about who we work with. We want to make sure those relationships last a long time. And you can see here, just based on the 3 fire districts and 1 fire authority in Snohomish County, we have long-standing relationships with our clients because they're very satisfied with the work that we do for the rate that we charge. And so again, super excited about talking to my hometown fire district and would love to have that kind of relationship with you if that's where you want to head. And then of course I have to put in Benton County Fire District 4. They are just a amazing fire district working on a shoestring budget in Eastern Washington, dealing with massive amounts of growth in the Tri-Cities area. So I would encourage you to contact Chief Carlisle. Okay, budget. So here's the deal, gentlemen. For 2023, our rate is $6,000 a month. So Chief Waller got me at a not a weak time, but I quoted him a different amount, and I'm more than happy to honor that. That amount is quoted per project. So whether I start tomorrow or whether we start 6 months from now, you're going to pay the same. So that's just the going rate for 2023. Now, some of our clients require general communication services, and those are less labor intensive than being on ballot. And so our rates reflect that. Okay. We do charge by the hour. It's not ideal. Our hourly rate in any contract for work over and above what we all agree on collectively as a group is $2.50 an hour. And there could be expenses. There definitely will be for mailing, data files, printing, that kind of thing. We do not mark up for expenses. Again, very unusual for a consultant, but I don't want to pay B&O taxes on what I send out for you. So we have our vendors bill you directly, or you can tell us who you prefer to use as a printer and mail house, and we can work with them to coordinate production on pieces. What I will tell you is we print over 1 million pieces a year for our clients. That's a lot. And as a result of that, we do have a contract with a printer that gets us a very competitive rate for our clients. So probably 80–90% of our clients use our printer. Again, no kickback, not interested in that, right? All of our costs are folded into our monthly retainer amount. If I'm on the road, gentlemen. I mean, COVID was wonderful in that I actually got to stay home, get to know my dogs, my neighbors. But now that the pandemic is ending, I'm on the road again 3 to 4 months a year. If you need to see me in person and I am out of the area, then that would incur a cost. However, what I like to do, because I have so many clients in Snohomish County, is do one meeting, and hopefully I'm in town and I just boop, 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 hit everyone off in like a week. And I get to see my 85-year-old, very grumpy mother who lives up on Terrace that you have not had to respond to a 911 call yet for. That's a joke. Yeah. But you may eventually. We just ripped out her tub shower, so hopefully she won't fall again. Okay. So here's my contact details and my partner's contact details. Again, I'm sorry she couldn't be with us tonight, but I'm trying to be respectful of her time with her family. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Any thoughts?
So Liz, my thought is that since we worked with you a few years ago, things have changed drastically in your area, as far as social media and that kind of thing.
Yes, Commissioner. In fact, the last time we worked together, I believe, was in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's like, what, 20 years, for God's sake?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. And so I hire to my weaknesses, right? So of the 4 people I have working for me, 3 of them are millennials. And they're all TikTok and Insta and Twitter and all that stuff. I have a Facebook page. I love my Facebook page. I've lived in 17 states and 3 countries in my life. So it's how I keep up with my friends, right? But you want to put me with TikTok, I just want to, shoot myself in the head, to be frank. But that's why I have people who are social media experts, right? And they're younger than me. Not to date myself, but they're younger than me. They embrace technology. And it's a good thing. Our clients benefit from that. Or were you simply calling me old, Commissioner?
Did I say it? I didn't say it.
Who else has a question?
Were you an elected official in Snohomish at one point?
Yes.
Of course. Yes, I was.
Oh. Cool.
And young commissioner there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was probably just being born. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Now, if I were there, I'd really have to have a smackdown with you, Aaron, right? I'm trying to give you respect and deference for your office, but at the point you're telling me you were just born, like, seriously, dude, right? Like, what the hell?
On this plan. No, but I don't have any other questions on your presentation.
Okay, that's fine. You can just apologize later.
Oh, and that's.
I'm just kidding. Who else? Anyone? Any questions?
So you have a number of clients that are running various elections this year, 22?
Yes, sir. You want me to list them?
Well, I was just wondering, you mentioned that they were you work in various places in this, in particularly in Washington anyway. And, would that be a good barometer for us moving forward to, as, you were talking about inflation before being like 8% or something like that, how that might affect something that we would do?
Yeah, so at the point you're looking at a 2023 ballot measure, I wouldn't worry about inflation yet, Commissioner, right? So if you're interested in the clients we have on the ballot, I'll give you a couple of races you could follow, sir. So the most current one is going to be the City of Mill Creek annexation to South County Fire, right? And so that's on the April special election ballot. Now, keep in mind too, please, not only do we work for the City of Mill Creek, we also hold a contract with South County Fire for all of their ballot measures for the next 5 years. And we hold a contract with Surfer, Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue, who is losing the Mill Creek contract. And so I think the fact that we have all three of those speaks to our ability to work with different agencies and move issues and projects forward in a respectful manner, right? In a manner that reduces anxiety for the folks who are receiving emergency services, right? And certainly reminding our clients that we're all in this together. And ultimately, the most important thing is that people feel safe and secure. And so I am going to take credit for keeping all three parties civil and calm and moving that discourse forward. Okay, so those are three biggies in our county. We also hold a contract with the City of Lake Stevens, and we help them not only with ballot measures, but also with general communication projects, right? The City of Blaine is also a client of ours. In Clark County, Washington, we have contracts with 3 fire districts down there, Clark 5, Clark 3, Clark 6, right? And again, it's about collaboration and making sure local government works well to serve people. I know that Snohomish 4 has had conversations with different folks about regionalization, and certainly if those conversations were to come up again, we are very strong in that facilitator role, keeping everyone calm and moving ahead and focused on the most important goal, right? But I have said to the chief this, and I'm very honest with my clients. I am not the kind of consultant that's just going to be like, woo woo, write me a check, right? Snohomish 4 has a reputation for being an island unto itself. And that is something, as your consultant, that concerns me. So I think it's important to communicate with our community about ways that you are collaborating with other fire districts, even if you never merge or annex or form an RFA or anything like that, right? But we have to pull, one of the things that I feel strongly about is we have to pull ourselves away from being seen as this fist. And maybe that's too blunt, but that's how I work.
I agree with that.
Oh my God, I might pass out. Yeah, you'll always know what I think. I don't make a success of my career by blowing smoke your way. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good. What else is on your mind? I wish I were there in person.
Anytime.
Oh, I know. But look, I have a tropical muumuu on. I'm on vacation. Anything else? Do you have any of the rank and file in the audience, Chief, that we could hear from? Because I know they are very vocal.
No,
That'll be next
I
meeting.
think some of the things you hit on is what we need to do. I think a reputation is built from the past, and we've
Yes.
done a lot of changes the last 2 years, and our future planning has been solidified. I don't know if it's changed, but we've done that. And so that's the main reason I want to hire you is that reputation doesn't necessarily fit what we are now and where we're going. And we need to do a really strong push to make sure that the image, the perception of us matches what we're doing now and where we're going, not where we've been.
Correct. I agree 110% with you, right? I make this this is what you guys were known as, but it's not that way anymore. And you have great news to report. And so it will take some time to kind of shake that off, right? So it's not just a matter of doing a ballot measure and talking about challenges to service with your agency. It's about acknowledging the past and moving forward. And talking about how, there were things this way and they served us then, and now things have changed and they're serving us and residents and businesses now, right? And then we get into challenges to service, the need for revenue requests, that kind of thing. So, you guys and this is part of the reason I'm really intrigued by this project. You are not a get in, get out kind of client, right? You have long-term goals about what you want to communicate to residents, where you're going, challenges to service and potential funding needs as well. But there's a lot of good stuff coming out of my fire district that people don't know about, right? They just know the past when things were contentious, and all they want really is an ambulance or a fire engine to show up to their house when they call 911, and they don't want to deal with the rest of the crap that everyone was fighting about and rumors were spreading, and you know what I mean? You're so beyond that now. It's a much more sophisticated organization, and I think people need to know that.
The other part of it is just the basic connection with our citizens.
Yes. And Commissioner, the plan we put together for you will have all of those components in it. So when we give you key messages and a communications plan, and I think I might have said this, long after we stop working together, you will have that plan and those messages that your internal staff can build upon after we're gone, right? So for example, the first two messages are going to be static for the fire district moving forward. But the challenges to service, the proposed solution, and the contingency plan, those can be changed, right, moving forward. But then you have the communications plan, the blueprint for how you may want to communicate with your constituents. And that'll have identified the number of newsletters, news releases, letters to the editor, social media posts, update to your websites, and public outreach. And that's something you can repeat in the following year when we're gone. One thing my company does really well is train PIOs. So for example, Surfer had a PIO that we worked with and trained. They just hired a new PIO and we're training him. Clark, two of our fire districts in Clark County have hired PIOs. They've gotten to the size where they need them, right? And we've trained them. And even though we may dip in during, ballot measure requests, they have PIOs who know how to communicate strategically as well as incident reporting. And those are two very different things. So if there's staff members, Chief, that you want us to work with and shepherd and mentor, we're super happy to do that. Because at the point a client, and there is no shortage of local government clients for us, right? But at the point you don't need us anymore because we've trained someone up in your staff to do this kind of work, then we've done our job.
Agreed.
I'm sorry?
Is that agreed?
Okay, great. Oh, I should stop sharing my screen. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. It's very nice to see everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in person in a few months, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
So Jim, we got through 3. Do you want to
Well, so
debate the issue of this one and finish it off, or?
I would, so Evan started the meeting, right?
Yes.
So I would just let him continue on this,
All right.
this meeting.
All right, so do we want to talk about the
That's what I
subject at hand?
Sure, that's fine with me.
Then where's that? And where's
That would be 8A.
8A.
And so I'll just reiterate what she said. The reason that I would like to get a contract with her and we'd start somewhere August, September of this year, and then maybe 12 months is, like we said, to basically kind of reset the bar with our communications to our public so that we're on the same page when the ballot measure comes up. I want them voting on the factual current information. But then the last thing she said, we've expanded our outreach to the citizens through a newsletter, a printed newsletter, electronic newsletter, social media on Facebook, Nextdoor, and our webpage, but that's all been self-taught, right? Christine and Sam and myself are all just doing it from the best we can get out. And so this is a perfect timing to hit a reset of our relationship with the public, get some more formal training for Christine and Sam, and all done right before a ballot measure. So it's kind of all 3 things coming together at the same time that I think we can get a lot of use and value out of this contract.
Mhm. I agree.
All right. Brock, do you have anything that you'd like to comment on it?
I don't have as rosy of a view of how the economy is going to go as she does, I don't think.
I don't think she had a rosy view of the economy. I think she said, what she was really saying is that that's so far in the future that it could be better or worse. We don't know what it is, so to start planning on what it will be is too soon.
Well, right, but the reason I asked the question I did there is that, if there's some already backflow from the public against some of these measures like this, that might give us a clue what we could face in the future and how we might need some special help to go down the road.
Right.
Yeah,
to get
and-
through there.
And she's learning every time, so that's another nice thing to have with her. She has the most current information as we get there versus us.
Right.
But I would also caution is using ballot measures, no matter how close they are, to compare to ours, because we are our own, right? Like ours is a renewal, which is oftentimes different than we've renewed it every 6 years for the last 12 years.
Yep.
We are not very far behind, so we would be looking at somewhere between 7 and 12 cents up, which is a pretty small amount, considering a lot of times people are doing much more than that, 25, 50, up to $1. And so we are our own thing. Not that you can't learn from others, but there is no really barometer that if these ones all pass, this one will, or if these all fail, this one will. So
Right.
we won't have to make the determination to put it on the ballot. I think I'd have to get my thing up, but probably May-ish next year. I'll get the calendar next year from the county, but But basically, we won't start the contract with her until September. We wouldn't decide to do a ballot, and the contract and the ballot are, though the timing is good, they're still separate. We still need to get out to the community and get that all done. So even if we start with her in September, I would continue that through. If you guys decide, hey, we don't want to run a ballot measure in May, that contract with her is going to do just as much good whether we end up running a ballot measure that fall or not. Because we still need to make sure we get the public back in line with what we're doing, their views, our views. It's kind of the next phase of the strategic plan, the standard of cover, and the community rescue system. We've done all that. We got to get all of that out to the community to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yes. So the connection with our community, I think, is more than just, I mean, not only just letting them know what we're doing and where we're going and all that, just the personal connection that we had, and the old timers in this room can remember when we had a personal connection with our citizens. And they supported us 100%, well, maybe 80-some%. But because like Liz says, there's always that contingent that is going to vote against you no matter what. But when we went out to sell tickets for our annual turkey dance, they were waiting at the door with money, even if they didn't have money. The old ladies that didn't have anything, they would give us $6 for a couple of tickets. And that connection, you know, this is a different time. That was a whole different time 40 years ago. But that connection with the citizens is something we really need to foster.
Yes, and that a lot of what she's
Exactly.
talking about, we're trying to do. You know, I've had 2 coffee with the chiefs. There's 5 or 6 more scheduled. We'll do next year.
Yes.
I've directed all of our staff, executive chief and day staff. We're all members of some community organization that we're going to meetings now that we can be a person. So we're trying to get back out, not just as a chief, but as a staff, as an organization of priority, that we are interfacing with the public on a regular basis, not just when we have a ballot measure.
She mentioned the humorous videos, humorous but training, but also educational.
Correct.
The one with 7 million views, that's pretty impressive. But those kinds of things, I mean, you can look online. I haven't watched any cat videos, but I have watched a lot of fire department videos that people put together. Some of them are really interesting.
And Sam and Christine are creating it. We've done it this last month. We've done a couple hiring videos that are way on the humorous side to try to do that. So we are trying to watch and learn, but again, we're self-teaching. You know, I've been through some of this before, but it would be nice to have a really, to have somebody there the whole time for a year helping.
Yes.
Sam and Christine have done an amazing job.
Yes.
Being self-taught, and I can only imagine how far they can go with just a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I did like that. I'd like that she kind of is getting mentor those them as well, because that's, she's leaving something behind that can be, carried on. I also had a conversation with 2 of her references today, and they were she had glowing reviews as well. Both the chiefs had nothing but great things to say about her. So.
Yeah, and I guess if I haven't, I will say I've hired in different positions. I've hired her twice before for different things. So I've had her as my contractee, I guess, and it's always worked out very well. The products they provide and the service they provide is very professional.
Yes. Agreed. Even though I don't think it was 20 years ago. It was about probably what, 12 or 14.
Yeah,
2012 bond.
I was thinking 2012 kind of ran in my mind, but yeah,
Yeah.
so 2010, 2012, yeah, somewhere in there.
Something like that.
Might have been longer. Time flies, right?
It does.
With RLB bonds.
We were trying to, I think we were trying to pass our EMS levy.
Oh,
I think it was.
Yeah,
2006, 7,
6, 7, okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion on moving forward with Liz in her contract?
If we need a motion, I'll make a motion. We move forward to the contract. Authorize the chief to put the details of that together.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. And I think now you're back up to number 4.
Yep. Open public comment? Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment?
Okay.
Going once? All right, All right, no comments. All right, old business. RFA discussions.
Yeah, she kind of brought it up. You know, it's happened quite a bit, but it's happening more and more every time I have a discussion with community, the city, Liz, what's going on with the RFA comes up. And we, like I said, we haven't met since June 7th. I've sent Everett, I don't know, probably 4 or 5. Hey, are we going to meet with what the ending plan was? And it's just been, yeah, we'll get there. So my thought is, so we kind of put it off to the side so it's not taking up so much of our public perception bandwidth that we just kind of, I don't think we have to shut it down, but I would suggest we put it on indefinite hold until we come up with a clear plan and timeline. So we can just kind of put it away so I can officially say, no, we're not in talks anymore. We didn't end in a bad way, but we're not doing that currently. And so we can focus on the things that we are doing.
Yeah, Everett is tied up with other priorities right now. And so, yeah, so we'll put it on hold. Put the talks on hold. It's not, I think that's a distinction. We're not putting creating the RFA on hold. We're putting the talks about possibly doing an RFA on hold.
All right, on to informational items, financial,
Accounts payable, payroll?
accounts payroll. Any
I don't
questions?
have-
Those?
No question.
Bob?
Mine got answered, I think. So,
All right, and we don't need a motion for those. All right, letter of retirement.
What's the date?
June 30th is my last day of work. What's that? Am I gonna be here?
You're gonna go longer than me.
No longer than you.
I about 2 weeks and a day or two.
I started in 77, so,
Well, you got more years than I have.
yeah.
You and Chief Ike. You're the only two.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So just to be, Chief Gatterman is part of his personal service contract is he has to give us enough notice so that he qualifies for his benefits payout. So this is meeting that requirement well in advance. And so all of the contract provisions have been fulfilled for that.
Yeah, because by the next meeting, it'd be too late. So,
Oh,
you've got so many days.
well, congratulations, Chief.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your years of
It
service.
has been a pleasure working with you and your dad before you, or along with you, actually. We were both in the department when I joined.
And I would just say that it's been great. Mike has been doing an amazing amount of work to not only get Thad up to speed, but Sherry, Christine and Sam, and then Greg, because everybody's kind of taking different things. And Sherry's been working just as hard to get Thad and Sam and Christine, because they're all taking different things. And so all the duties are being done, but they're not going to one person. And so that makes it
yeah.
a little
Yeah,
bit more
it takes 6
difficult, a lot
people
of
to
work.
replace you, right?
Well, under the new outline, the new department, it's just gonna work that way. That's okay, though. Usually you can find somebody that's available to learn something.
So as everybody knows, it's not easy to do all of your work and then teach somebody how to do the work.
Yes. Understood.
Well, again, thank you. All right. Action items, transport waivers. You get the opportunity to look at those, Jim?
I did.
Any motions? Or any questions on?
I was in favor of waiving all of number 2.
Yes,
Yeah, I was just, yeah,
I would agree with that.
I would go with just the recommended on both of those.
Okay. All right, which means for number 3, the waive amount would be 0%. Correct?
That is correct. That was.
Yeah, that's how it is. I will make that motion.
So all in favor?
Aye.
New business. We'll skip over Loom Limits because we already discussed that earlier. Cardiac monitor and light pack. AED purchase.
Yeah, so this is similar to the one we did last meeting, but these are for AEDs, which are for EMTs or really the general public to use. I put a lot of information here, but basically, I want to make sure that if it has a Fire District 4 logo on it, that there's an AED available. And so we're going to buy 10, I think, and that'll get most of our staff vehicles, and then probably next year we can fill in the last few. But that way, by the end of next year, I'd like every Fire District 4 vehicle to have an AED in it all the time.
That makes sense, for sure.
It does, yes. Agree with that.
And so you'll need to do a motion for the purchase authorization and then a motion for resolution 541. Because we sole source just like the last one, so that we can
Oh,
be compatible for our 15 life pack 15s to our life pack life pack 1000s.
Right.
541. Waiving competitive bidding, okay. So I'll make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the AEDs as requested.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
I will make a motion that we approve resolution 541, waiving the competitive bidding requirements.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dry suit purchase.
And this is, you'll see a policy 731 is coming up, and we're finally hoping by summer we'll have our water program up and running, and this is part of that. And I'll let Chief Hodkinson talk about the dry suits himself.
Yeah, so this request came through the swim team members, the tech guys going through training. We did purchase some last summer, wetsuits, but in our climate in the different rivers, it was apparent that they needed both. They needed to have the capability of dry suits as well as wetsuits. So it was a budgeted for this year to purchase them, so that was within the budget line item. And we got 3 online bids. All the bids of the dry suits are within $5 of each other. So we may end up ordering from a couple different places just based on availability. We actually, pending your approval, have 3 on hold. If you guys approve this purchase, that they can ship tomorrow, but some of them may be back ordered, and one of the members, due to size, we could only find it at another vendor. But that's the request. It's a little bit more than what we had budgeted for, but we have enough money within that line item. Some other things that we don't anticipate spending this year that we did budget for, so we have enough money to cover the cost of those dry suits.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 6 dry suits from wherever makes the most sense.
I'll second that motion. All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so policy updates.
And the only thing, I'll just say a couple of things. I think it's good to note that about half of these are brand new policies. And so what it's saying is we'll have got through almost all of our old policies updated, that we're actually starting to write now some new policies that we are missing, using the lawyers to see where our holes are first. And that's where 501 and 511 came up. Brian Snur thought we should have a ethics policy. And then so we kind of broke it out. The 731 is the water policy. 102 is social media. We haven't had a policy on that. And obviously, as you just heard, that's becoming bigger and bigger. And so I think other than that, it's just the normal policies. I just thought it was good to note that we're kind of getting over the hump and near the bottom of the hill. So still going to be having policies, going to be writing new ones. But I'm excited that we're not updating, that we're almost through updating all of them.
I would move that we accept policies 102, 105, 213, 305, 501, 509, 511, 731 with the special edition that we got today in the email that was added to it.
Mhm.
And 905.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to comments, district staff and work groups.
Did you guys get a copy of the operations report? I think it was part of your packet. If not, I got a copy here. I'll just highlight for the month of March, we responded on 328 911 calls. Breakdown as usual, majority of those were EMS. I did highlight one call in particular, and Chief and I were talking this morning that we don't often do a great job bringing to the board some highlighted calls. I know you guys get the comment cards, so you get to read through some of those. However, we did receive an email, MSO Bromley did, from Dr. Cooper in March. Dr. Cooper was highlighting kudos to a crew that responded on a call, and due to their quick thinking and fast action, made a real difference in somebody's life. And I can't get into particulars because of HIPAA, but it was an assault patient with life-threatening injuries, and the crew spent very little time on scene, packaged the patient, transported them, and Dr. Cooper within 3 or 4 hours had an email to MSO Bromley thanking them for alerting the trauma team, and really helped in the chain of survival for that patient's outcome. So
Excellent.
I also added, I added into the operational report, and you'll start seeing this one monthly. As you know, this year we kind of changed our overtime tracking. So you're gonna start seeing us message to you guys, there's staffing overtime, meaning we had to put a person on overtime in the fire station to staff the apparatus. And then there's other overtime, which could be training, could be wildland mobilizations, could be teaching CPR, could be coming here for mandatory training. Prior to this year, we didn't break those out. It was just overtime. So when you guys were approving payroll, you just saw overtime. You didn't know if that was for staff in a fire truck or for going to training. So we're trying to separate
Excellent.
those two out so you guys can see where that
That is
overtime money is going.
Thank you.
And one of those reasons is just, sorry, Jason, is obviously the staffing is everything is just discretionary, but the staffing I feel is less discretionary. We're trying to give a minimum level, but that other overtime is much more discretionary. And so we might
Well, it's
expand
also in my mind, much more acceptable to have overtime for training or for wildland.
that's what I'm saying. So our station staffing might be going down or staying even, and we might see our overtime going up because we're trying to do
Yes.
new projects, implement new items that cost us overtime to do.
Yeah, excellent.
Just an update on the Snohomish County Academy that we have 6 recruits at. They will be graduating this Thursday. All of our recruits are doing very well. So they're getting high praise from the academy. So they will start the following week after graduation, a post-academy. They'll spend another 3.5 weeks in a post-academy doing some District 4 related training. And we expect to have those members online by mid-May. They'll be staffing the stations, starting their rotations. We have 7 members currently working on their acting driver operator credential to get them qualified to drive the engine and the tender. So we anticipate by May, we probably won't have all 7, but we'll have probably 3 or 4 additional drivers. We also have 3 members that are very close to completing their acting officer credential. So by mid-May, might have 3 additional members that are able to act up as a company officer. Both those are going to really help our stations with staffing as well, and some flexibility for the members. And then we have distributed to all the stations. We had talked, I think, in previous meetings about taking all the different requirements and classes needed to promote up or advance up through our organization, and we put that into a poster with Mrs. Heike's help, and that poster is displayed up there on the board. So after the meeting, if you guys want to take a look at it, but that essentially should be fairly accurate for the next 4 to 5 years, the life of the CBA that was just signed. But that will A to Z tell every member from the time they hit our front door what classes are needed and in what order to advance through either a pay step or advance to engineer, lieutenant, or battalion. So we're pretty proud that we were able to put that together, and I would like to note that it was done in conjunction with the labor group, so they had a big hand in developing this, so this is kind of huge. So we got these displayed at all 3 of our stations and then the training office, and this one's a spare. We haven't figured out where to display this one yet, but I got it in large print for myself, by the way. I couldn't see it on 8.5 by 11 was just too small.
And that also comes from our standing to cover CRA. That was one of the comments back from our staff. And so just to show that we're using that, all that work to put in, we're trying to come out with the tangibles from that effort.
The last couple things I have is I know Chief Osborne is spending some time with his family on vacation right now and couldn't make it. And I know if he was here, he would pass on to you guys that our chaplain program was very active from the time the officer in Everett, Officer Roca, lost his life all the way through the memorial. The chaplains were working there for 3 or 4 days straight over at the dispatch center, helping the dispatchers. They assisted with Everett PD. On the heels of that, you guys heard that we also lost an officer in Edmonds. A couple of days later, they were also, he was in Vegas, I believe, but they also helped out with Edmonds Police Department. So our chaplains had a very busy couple weeks supporting both the dispatch center and some local police departments. We also participated and sent an engine and medic unit over. We were able to staff with off-duty personnel and send the engine and medic unit over to Everett to assist covering their stations while they attended the memorial service. So we were pretty proud that we got to participate and allow some of their on-duty members to attend the memorial. And that's all I got. If you guys got any questions?
No.
Nope, thank you.
You get it?
Yeah, much to say.
So as Chief Hopkins said, Chief Osborne's on vacation. Chief Rader's out at training out of the area. First thing I'd like to point out is on page 133, Commissioner Commissioner Flapp. That's our comment card responses from last year. So we have that from the paper ones, and so we'll be track that compared to the new style. I'd also like to expand on the line of duty death for the officer. We did send the 2 units over, but I'd also like to thank Chief Hodgkinson. He actually, for Everett, arranged for all the units that would cover all of Everett, so not just ours, but he coordinated with all the other ops chiefs in the county to make sure Everett City was covered for the whole memorial, so that they could take that off their plate and not worry about it. So thank you, Chief. I've had a few meetings with the mayor and the new city administrator. Our conversations are going extremely well and extremely positive, and we are working together on numerous fronts to provide a better service to the citizens and a better relationship between us and the city. And so hopefully we'll have lots of things to come to the board over the next year or 2. So appreciate all the work that's been going on there. That's all I have.
Awesome.
I'd like us to go back to page 128. That's another resolution.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Thank
we
you.
missed
We
that.
did.
So that's
We do.
for the,
Yeah, we do need resolution 542 for the awards and recognition to go with policy 105. So, thank you. I would have been annoyed tomorrow morning.
I figured. Oh. I'll move that we pass this resolution in regards to specific awards for fire district members.
I'll second that, since I'm getting one of them.
That's 542.
542.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, commissioner comments. Executive session.
I had a thought here at the last Snow Isle Fire Commissioners meeting. They were talking about mitigation fees. And I don't think we're into that here, are we?
Correct. We don't have any mitigation fees.
Right.
And
Is that something, I know they talked about, since, we might have to have certain the city might have to do something, the county might have something to do.
That's what I was just gonna say.
And I was just wondering if maybe we could look into that. 'Cause I mean, I don't know, with a lot of building going around and that might, help us to plan for, where we might want to have a station or how big, how many bays and all that kind of stuff, Maybe maybe it's not worthwhile either to do it, but, I think school districts have it and so forth like that, so, just to kind of help out, but I thought that was a good discussion that they had the other night, so
It's a fairly complicated,
that's what it's about.
yeah, fairly complicated, but you have to show it's not a just go do it. We're talking a year's process. So
Right,
yeah.
I realize.
Yeah, so, especially in the unincorporated areas, I doubt it would be worth the time. In the city, it probably would be. And my hope is these discussions with the city, when we get to a fire marshal stuff, that would be something that they would take on to really go through that division. Honestly, we would have to hire a consultant because we don't have the expertise, the capacity or the bandwidth to do that. And so I'm not sure right now that hiring a consultant without having a little more would be the best use of our funds.
That's fine. But I thought
But
I just
they
brought
are,
it to
yes,
the-
they are very good, especially as you get density.
Yeah.
To say, if you're gonna build this development,
Yeah.
you have to either put into this fund, pay this tax, there's lots of ways to do it,
Right.
but getting that impact defined through a study is important, so that it has to be very specific, it can't just be like $25 per building, it has to be this thing, and then when the development happens, you have to prove that that development fits in that impact fee.
I was just thinking, they're talking about more high-rise type buildings here, and how it affects equipment we might need and so
Absolutely,
forth. like
and that would be a very good one, if
Yeah.
we could get an impact fee to fund a ladder because of that, but again, it's getting that and showing the need, you have to get that
Right.
nexus. And I'm not saying against it, I think in the city, we should look at that in the future, but I'm saying that's probably 2 to 3, 4 years off before we can get to that point in the organization.
Yeah, they don't have it in the charter, the city.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I don't know if we even can, first we'd have to see if we can by ordinance, then how to do it, and really they collect it and pass it to the fire district, and so there's we have to get a lot better relationship with the city than we have now, and we're quickly going in that direction, but I don't think we don't want to get that in the way of everything else, we're trying to build that foundation.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other commissioner comments?
Yes, of course. You'd be disappointed if I didn't have a lot of comments.
You got all that too, so.
First of all, I want to apologize for my tardiness this evening, and I want to thank Commissioner Merritt as our vice chair, for taking over the reins and handling the meeting this evening. So, as I mentioned last month, when I ran for commissioner this time, I fully intended to fill out my full term, 6 years, and actually was considering running for an additional 6 years.
Oh.
However, things changed. We already have got a couple extra. But as I announced last month, I'm moving out of the state. So that means I cannot continue to fulfill my obligation to the district. So I am submitting my resignation tonight officially, with an official date. And this came about with discussions with our attorney and with the chief, and the chief's discussions with the other commissioners evidently. And everybody agreed in the end that it was better to have a specific date for my resignation, so that we would have time to interview other candidates, and that another candidate could be appointed soon after my resignation. And so my resignation is officially, what did I put in there? June 13th. That's our commissioners meeting in June. And I anticipate, what I'm really hoping is that we'll have a candidate that you two can agree on by then. we finished all the interviews and you picked a candidate and you would appoint somebody immediately upon my resignation. My official resignation, so. But that's entirely up to you. I don't have a vote in that by law. So, that's the deal. And it looks like, Chief Gatterman will outlast longer, outlast me. He does have more years than me by a lot, but I was hoping that, I would,
Finish your term out, then have to have more, yeah.
but it's not gonna be that way, so that's okay. So when I leave, it will be Chief Gatterman and Chief Pikey. They'll be the only two that have been here longer than me.
Well,
And after that, who's next in line?
Daryl, I think is.
Daryl, okay.
Then Christine, and you.
And then,
Is Bill and.
yeah, Bill's not far behind
Bill
that.
and Brian, or who was else with you? This guy?
Probably getting close to Jason.
The,
I think he was just born when I joined.
yeah,
Commissioner Merritt was not born yet when I joined.
When you going?
81, just before your dad took over. Anyway, so, that's it.
All right, so moving forward, obviously we want to have some discussions on what we want, when it comes to moving forward, some sort of process. Did we ever get any response from Brian Snare on?
yeah, he liked our outline. He said, he said you can start as soon as you want, as long as no actions are taken until Commissioner Schmoker is.
I might add that if in fact you came up with a candidate you were happy with, I would modify my resignation to be sooner.
10. Yeah, and I don't know that the way I would propose, and again, it's up to especially you two, is that we finalize, we have a rough draft of the plan that Brian agreed with. We finalize that between now and next meeting. We announce it, the process at the May meeting. We would take letters of interest until the June meeting. An executive session, you guys can look at the letters of interest and decide if there's any reason to narrow down or not narrow down the number of letters of interest to interview. Then you would interview, we could do a special meeting before the July meeting. Like, if interviews are gonna take 2 hours, we would start at 5 with a special meeting. Basically get done with the special meeting, appoint them in the special meeting, and they would start at the regular meeting in July.
If everything goes.
Yeah.
You have
So-
90 days.
Yeah, so no action would be taken while Jim is on the board. All the action would happen at the
Yes.
July after Jim has resigned, but we could start the letters of interest coming in after the meeting.
Unless somebody comes in right before that you just are so excited about. You don't want to wait.
Which would be hard because you guys wouldn't see the letters of interest until the June meeting.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that would be, and I'll tidy up the thing that we had to send it back out to you with all that. But that gives the community 30 days, well, let's say 28 days, 4 weeks to send letters of interest in. It wouldn't get posted until the day after the May meeting, and we'd have to have them done a couple days before the June meeting so that we could get them all ready for you guys. But 4 weeks is, I think, reasonable for the community to get the announcement, put it together and get it to us. It's not a rush, but it's not too long. And then technically we don't have
So
really.
on that June meeting, we would be receiving those letters.
Yeah, I would have all the letters for each of you. If we've got an executive session and, if we get 3 letters, you want to interview all 3, that's fine. If we get 10 letters, you want to interview all, this is what Brian said, all 10, that's fine. If you decide that you want to narrow it down for some reason, you can review the letters in an executive session, but the narrowing down has to be in open public meeting.
You get a special meeting that might have an executive portion to it, basically.
Well, you mean in July?
Yeah,
No,
I
so,
mean, in June.
no,
It'll be over.
That was the regular.
The meeting in May is on
because
the
the interviews
9th,
would happen in July, that would be the
and then
special
the
meeting.
13th.
To do the interview.
So,
Oh, that's the other thing. The May meeting, I will be doing remote. I will be,
okay.
in Arizona.
So what was your question?
No, I was just, Evan asked what I was thinking of, and the meeting in May is on the 9th, and the other one is on the 13th, and if we did something like that, you know, from the meeting when we announced it for a month, that could get you to June 9th. And that would have some time to get the letters to you,
Correct.
and that would still be 30 days, and we'd have them before the meeting. So something wouldn't be coming in maybe the last day or something, you know?
And that's what I was thinking, ended a few days ahead so that I have time to, because I'll make packets for all of you guys. And if there's anything missing from the people that send in, I can reach back out and get all that done before we have packets for you. And then like I said, we would do the interviews would be a special meeting if you want to do those in July before the regular meeting.
Yeah, I like that timeline. What would be our, how would we reach out to the public?
So I would do a Facebook post, a few of them probably, obviously on the website, and then we would probably try to see if we can get something in the Tribune. Hopefully the Everett Herald would do something too, but I would think that we could get some earned media, meaning we don't have to pay for it, but we'll, you know, if they want something, I can come back to you. And I have an advertising budget, so I could probably just do it without even.
Press release. Commissioner bails out.
So that's what I would do. I think those three things are about the best way that we can get them. We have the electronic newsletter email list too, so we could hit something with that too if you wanted.
Okay, no?
Any other discussions on that? All right, so do we need a motion to move
I
forward in the process?
I would do it next meeting. So like I said, let me tweak our
Yeah.
plan we had to get all dates and everything in, and then next meeting I'll put it in the packet so that way everybody in the public can see it. Yeah, exactly. And then you can adopt it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Anybody, I mean, it's not like it's a big secret. Anybody that looks at our minutes or
Correct.
is gonna know. We just aren't gonna make it public. until-
Correct. I mean, I have two letters. They don't follow necessarily our format, but so it's been out there from the last couple of meetings. Anybody watching today is going to see it. Anybody watching the next meeting. And so, but I think that way, if we put a formal process out at the meeting, then everybody is completely on the same page of what we're expecting and what we're looking for.
I agree. All right.
Excellent.
Sounds fine.
All right. We're going to go to executive session. The board will be going executive session pursuant to RCW 492.30.110 to consider the selection of a site or an acquisition of real estate.
15 minutes, no action.
All right, 15 minutes, no action. go ahead.
We got 30, it's been 13 minutes, that's close enough.
Oh, so then- all right, we'll adjourn executive session with no action. And we will call this meeting, adjourn this meeting at 9:12.
I've got 9:07.
Oh, sorry, my computer lied. Yep, I got 9:07. I apologize.
I started with that, with this computer time.
Oh, you